Hey guys, Grumpy here with a quick guide to phase ships. So in this guide, we're going to cover what are phase ships, we're going to go over the officer skills that affect phase ships, and then finally we're going to cover the hull mods that affect phase ships. So phase ships are specially modified ships that have the innate hull mod phase field. Phase field gives you access to phase space, which is a pocket dimension where ships can be damaged and they move faster, kind of like bullet time. So phase ships are phenomenal alpha strikers, but they do require significant care when you employ them on the battlefield. I would strongly recommend that you pilot them with your best officers, if not just piloting them yourself. So while in combat, let's go ahead and jump into a simulation. While in combat, in order to enter phase space, you have to right click. Notice that this replaces the shield. Phase ships do not have shields. While in phase space, a couple of things happen. One, you'll notice you start generating hard flux. So this bar above your hull is slowly increasing. Once this reaches full, you'll actually be booted out of phase space, so keep that in mind. And then you also begin incurring this debuff called phase coil stress. So this reduces your top speed pretty significantly. It bottoms out at I think 33%. So you're moving a third of the speed that you normally would be. Um, there is no cooldown between entering and exiting phase space, but there is a cooldown between when you can re-enter it. So that's depicted by your phase coils cooling off, and once they finish their animation, you can enter phase space again. When in combat, just be cognizant of where you are in relation to the enemy. If you are going to fight with a majority phase ship fleet, or you're going to have a significant number of phase ships in your fleet, I would recommend staying towards the edge of the battlefield. If you are deep in your enemy's territory with a phase ship, it is very quickly to build up a lot of flux, get yourself booted um, out of phase space, and then have no sort of defenses because you don't have a shield, right? And you can't really maneuver because your top speed is cut, to be caught up in the enemy's lines and then quickly get destroyed. So for that reason, you really want to hang out kind of in your deployment zone, and you really want to be partnered with like another ship. So uh, that's pretty much it for in combat. Let's talk about some out of combat benefits. Phase ships are really nice in that they reduce your fleet sensor profile. So the sensor profile is how far away other ships can detect, or other fleets can detect your fleet. Some fleets have really sensitive sensor ranges, so they can detect smaller objects from further away. But most ships have like a middling sensor range. So by you having to reduce sensor profile, you're less likely to show up. What this means is you can easily complete spy satellite missions. So those are the missions where you have to fly to a planet. If there's no debris fields, there's no like obstruction to hide in, then you can use a single phase ship or a few phase ships to slip in and drop off that spy satellite and slip out without being detected. And then also, phase ships are really good at scouting your enemy. So if you want to know what your fleet composition, your opponent's fleet composition is, you can fly close enough to them so that you can analyze them. You can even get into combat, so you can really get a detailed breakdown of what the fleet has, and then deploy a ship, get the information that you need, and then break away, like retreat with that information in mind. Because spaceships are really evasive. If you build them correctly, you can move at 300, 400 top speed. So it's really hard to track you down. And then, of course, get away from the fleet, bring in the rest of the ships that you want to, and then go ahead and engage the enemy. So, those are the benefits in combat and out of combat. Let's move on to the officer skills. There's really only two officer skills that I would recommend. The first one is mandatory, and that is phase coil tuning. Phase coil tuning is absolutely mandatory because phase ships have really, really, really bad CR. That's due to delicate machinery, which cuts their CR in half. So phase coil tuning gives you an extra 180 seconds of peak performance time, which even still gets burned up really quickly. Phase ships are a lot. There's a lot of maneuvering involved with phase ships for them to be the most effective. So in all that time you're maneuvering, you're also burning that peak performance time. So this just helps extend it. Additionally, it gives you top speed and acceleration while phase, which is again very important if you want to make sure that you're in the enemy's flank or that you're able to hit that weak spot on the opponent very reliably. And then additionally, they increase the sensor strength so you can detect things further away, like we talked about. The second mod, this isn't as mandatory, and also it's really more so for your officers, but I would recommend Systems Expertise. Phase ships have some of the best cooldown abilities in the game, right? So like the Shade has Arc Emitter, the Afflictor has what is it called? Entropy Amplifier, I believe. The Doom, of course, has its mines. So Systems Expertise is going to buff all of those special abilities and reduce the cooldown on them significantly. If you're going to pilot a phase ship yourself, unlike other ships in the game, there's not really a lot of support on the tree for phase ships. So you can go down the combat line. You can be very devastating in a phase ship. It's hard for you to get hit, whereas you can employ a lot of damage if you're positioned correctly. And then the last thing is beyond that, obviously I recommend damage, but more specifically, I recommend supplies and ways to get supplies. A phase fleet is very expensive to maintain. It requires a lot of supply, repairing your ship, as well as just piloting them, period, flying them around. You're going to chew through supply. So things like field repairs, salvaging, uh, and makeshift equipment are going to be your best friends. Yep. And finally, let's go over the hull mods. Really, there's two main hull mods. There's Adaptive Phase Coil, which reduces the amount of top speed you lose while you are in phase space. So as you generate that hard flux, you get that phase coil stress. This helps mitigate that so you can move at top speed. Something that I like to do sometimes is build like a very evasive ship. So that would be something like a Shade or an Afflictor. Slap on adaptive phase coils, slap on unstable ejectors, and now I have a very zippy ship. I don't have to worry about getting bogged down, getting trapped. I can always move around the battlefield. Very good for harassing, by the way. And then there is Phase Anchor, which reduces the which cuts the cooldown of your abilities in half while in phase space. So just on weapons, not on like your special abilities. So if you have something like antimatter blasters, which normally have a refire delay of 10 seconds, this cuts it down from 10 to 5. So you can get off a lot more shots than you otherwise would be able to. You pair that with something like built-in expanded magazines, and you're cutting that down even further. So the difference is pretty significant once you start stacking these buffs. Anyway, that's pretty much everything when it comes down to phase ships. Play with them. They're very exciting to play with. They're a interesting dynamic in Starsector. Again, they're one of my favorite ships. If you do want to see me use an entirely phased fleet, then I recommend Solid Knights, which will appear in a card above. Very exciting series. It's salvage only, so the only phase ships that I could get were from combat. I couldn't purchase any of my own phase ships, so it made the grind really difficult, but also really enjoyable. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Other than that, Grumpy out.